Hello. I certainly should have planned this video to a greater extent than I actually did. It's the lead up to the release of Mary Arlan Finding the Heir, the sequel to Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, Guardian Cadet series. So we are going to be talking all about Mary Arlan Finding the Heir. So today we are going to be doing a Meet the Cast, and if you were here for the release of Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, or you're just obsessed with it and you've been through the entire Guardian Cadet series playlist, props to you. You might remember that I did a Meet the Cast video back in 2021 for the release of Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, and you may be wondering, how is this one going to be different? Are you just going to be talking about new characters? Are you just going to be talking about the same characters in the same way? And the answer is sort of yeah, and sort of also no. So I'm also going to be talking you through pieces, at least, of my Mary Arlan playlist. And if a character has a particular song that I associate with them, I will be telling you what that song is, any poignant particular lyrics from that song that really, for me, signify the character, and I will be, that's sort of the plan. I'll be talking about the characters as they are in Mary Arlan Finding the Heir and how they may have shifted and changed a little from Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse. Now, warning. Spoilers abound for Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, the first book in the series, because sequels tend to have spoilers for the first book in the series, but this one is particularly bad for it. Not bad for it, but this one is particularly strong in the case of spoilers. So if you haven't read Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse, the blue one, then the first one, the blue one, the one with the Guardian crest on the front, then you might want to pause this and go and read it. Or if you just don't care about spoilers, like I don't, go ahead. We're going to be talking about the purple one today, Mary Arlan Finding the Heir, which has no Guardian crest on the cover, but does have a crown on the back. Get the ebook, obviously you won't get that, but anyway. So yeah, let's talk about some of our characters. There are some characters that were in Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse that don't make it into Mary Arlan Finding the Heir. So that would be people like Professor Simonde, Professor Simonde, the artifact expert that the Guardians call over. That would be Johto Volks from Johto's Bar and Club. Ed Thorne is gone. Manth doesn't make an appearance. He's still there, but we just don't care about him. Oh gosh, who else? I'm sure there's other people. Most of the court from the Elven Embassy, they obviously don't make another mention. And you know, that character that dies, he's dead, but he is still relevant, so. Now we get into characters that do make an appearance, but just a brief one. Like, we've got some characters who are, well, most of these characters that only get a brief show are people who we leave behind on the island of Shima when we go to the Elven Isles, which is where the majority of the book is set. I hope you've read the blurb, because otherwise you're going to be very confused. So the majority of the book is set in the Elven Isles, which means that we leave behind anyone who is sort of stuck on Shima. So that's people like PT, who does make an appearance, but brief one. Professor Sorensen. We meet a new healer in this book called Jacinta, but she stays behind. Then there is obviously Kitty as well, gets left behind. Professor Sorensen, did I say that already? Professor Sorensen gets left behind. And Lior gets a big reference but no actual appearance. And then there's a couple more characters that we get introduced to in this book who have quite small parts. Like, we get introduced to Captain Garrett, who I'm not going to give you any information about him other than my wife loves that he exists. It's great. That's it. That's all the information you get. And we get introduced to the full Council of Colonels, but not all of them get a name, just some of them. So we get not Worthing, that's the wrong name. Malior and Lorca are the two that get names, and then obviously PT and Calic. And then there's two more, because there are 6 colonels. The other 2 don't get a name. One of them gets a line of dialogue, and one of them is just silent the whole time. So yeah, and then we've got a couple of sort of side characters that appear in this book on the Elven Isles that don't really rate much of a statement. I'm not going to go into those people because it's not really relevant. And then we've got some characters who did technically appear in Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse, but didn't appear much in there and actually have big parts. So we're going to talk about those guys next. So there's 2 Guardians, and then I'm also going to throw Raquel into this section. So the 2 Guardians we get more from are Diamos and Felicius. So Diamos is a Goblin Guardian. He is just a Goblin Guardian. They're private. Like his rank is private. And he's a lot of fun. I love Diamos. And then we have Felicius as well, who is an Elven Guardian and a Lieutenant at that. He's one of the highest ranked Guardians that come on the expedition to the Elven Isles. So we have 3 highly ranked ones. We have Felicius, who's a Lieutenant. We have Commander Jonathan Wickler, who is obviously the Commander. And we have Colonel Cadet, obviously. Like, I wouldn't leave him behind. And then, of course, there's Raquel, who gets much more page time. She had an amount of page time in book 1, but she was very much, as I said in that Meet the Cast video, she was very much a MacGuffin then, and now she gets to be a proper character, which is nice. So Raquel in this is recovering from the effects of the curse, or like learning to live with the effects of the curse that are still lingering even though the curse is broken. So basically what Mary did didn't reverse the effects, it just stopped it from progressing. And she is a sort of heavily burdened paramour in this, and you sort of, at times, you think to yourself, but she wasn't part of this. How did she, like, why would she be coming to the reason that they're travelling to the Elven Isles? And the answer is, A, because I say so, suspend your disbelief, and B, it's because of the whole, everything that happened in book 1 is all connected around, and because Mary used the amulet to free her from the curse, she has something to contribute to the whole conversation of what Larynx did and why and how. It's all sort of in this lovely report that you get if you pre-order the book and sign up to my mailing list and then reply to an email that I send you with proof of pre-order and an address that I can send this to. I do ship it worldwide. Or if you buy a signed copy of this from me, you get this as default. It's been 1.5 years since the first book came out, and I know that a lot of people might want to reread it, but for people who are too busy or who don't like rereading stuff, or people who, like me, think to themselves, I know what happens in book 1, I don't need to reread book 1, I remember, and then get about like 15 pages in, don't want to stop because it's exciting, but cannot for the life of them remember what happened. This is this is useful. This is Calic's draft report, the draft of the report Calic has to submit about the events that happen in Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse, which is also why it's called Report GS, as in Guardians of Shima, MABTC. It's in Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse. Every single report referenced in this, they're not real, but every single report referenced in this has a name like that. So we have GSNARPB, which is Guardians of Shima, not a real published book. I'm not going to tell you any of the others, but if you can figure them out, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Anyway, yeah, Raquel is more important in this book. She is very useful with her finding magic, her knowledge of elven life and elven culture, even though she is a Sheman elf, aka an elf who lives and I think was born on Shima. But because she's travelled all over the world for her mercenary business, she is very knowledgeable about this kind of thing. So she is really a useful character to have around. She has actual emotion in this book. She is, oh, she's just great. She's just great. She gets her own little song. She gets her own little song. So she gets, it's called Warrior by Avril Lavigne. Yes, I still listen to Avril Lavigne in this day and age. I don't even care. You're going to get a real insight into my music tastes in this video. So the lyrics that really stood out to me, because sometimes it's just vibes, but in this case it was particularly lyrics. So the lyrics that really stood out to me in this song, to be Raphael-ish, are they tried to break me down, they tried to take me out, you can't cut a scar on me, I'm a warrior, I'll fight for my life, like a soldier all through the night, I won't give up, I will survive, I am a warrior. And that was, I don't know, just, like, lyrics-wise, vibe, right? For Raphael, that's just quintessentially her. She is, at her heart, like, the reason that she's a mercenary is not just because she's got finding magic and that is therefore a logical route for her to take, it's also because she is naturally inclined to be sturdy and strong and a warrior, and I think that makes it even more poignant in the moments that she does have emotional issues, emotional moments in the novel. And I don't know, I just think it's really cool, and I think it's really nice because she's such a lovely, like, I love making characters that are parallels to each other, and in a lot of ways Raphael in this book particularly is such a parallel to Mary, and it's remarked upon in the book, which I also really love, as proven by, again, the first book, but she's such a parallel to Mary in so many ways because they are both, like, physically strong women who want something and will just keep going for it until it actually happens. And there's a moment in the book, and it's not a spoiler, but there's a moment in the book where Mary says to Commander Whitclay, are you telling me that if women were allowed into the Guardians and had been allowed into the Guardians, are you telling me you honestly don't believe that Raphael would have joined? And it's just this really, like, it's in a really tense moment. It's about something very specific that I won't get into because that would be spoilers. But it's just this complete world-shattering moment for Whitclay, and I just think it's really cool. Gosh, now I've got to try and remember all the characters. It's fine, I'm fine. This is fine. I should have written them down. I have them in the back of one of my notebooks, but because I finished the book, I put the notebook away and I can't remember where to put it, so. Next up, character-wise, we have the people who are more important. Let's talk about the new characters that you won't have met before. So, new characters-wise, we have a lot of elven characters, obviously, because we are in the Elven Isles, but we have 3 that are particularly important. So if you have read the excerpt of the first 3 chapters you get if you sign up to my mailing list, you can still get that, by the way. It comes as part of the welcome email. You will have already met Knight Captain Paria. So Paria is, Paria or Paria, your choice. I couldn't land on a pronunciation, but I'm probably just going to call her Paria because that is the natural inclination that I have, is to emphasise the first syllable in a word. Anyway, or a name. Anyway, so yeah, Paria is a knight captain, the knight captain of the Elven Knight. Paria is all business. Her main focus is the health and well-being of the Queen primarily, and then the elven people of the Elven Isles secondary to that. That's sort of how the position of Knight Captain works. She is real serious, and Commander Whitclay does not like her at all. I'm not going to explain why. I'm not going to get into that. It's just a fact. Then we have the Queen herself, Queen Cariella. So Queen Cariella is the Queen of the Elven people, the Queen of the Free Elven people is her official title. She is reeling from the death of Smeaton. She is absolutely stumped by it because he was one of her favoured courtiers and he was the person that she could rely on the most. If you've read chapter 1, which you can do without even signing up to my mailing list because it's available on nopoodles.wordpress.com, I will try and remember to leave a link in the description to that specifically, but you can just go to nopoodles.wordpress.com and search for it. But anyway, at the end of that first chapter, Mary says, Mary says about how hey, shh, you're okay. You're alright. about how Smeaton used to get post with a stamp of the Elven Queen's crest on it all the time, and it was that allowed her to escape, and that now is compelling her to return. And that's how much she relied on Smeaton, is that she used to send him all of his posts, to send him all over the world, including sort of to Shima in the first place. Which obviously spurred a lot of what happened in the first book. Do you mind? There's people out there. Yeah. I know. And then finally, of the sort of important and relevant Elven characters, we also have Lord Brain. No, that is not a character from your book. I swear, every time the dog barks, my brain just flies out the window. What is his name? How have I forgotten? Antian, seriously. So Lord Antian is very much a Smeaton in a lot of ways. He's a red elf, much like the Queen, and he's kind of a jerk. It's pretty much his whole personality. He's kind of a jerk. He's very, very locked into the idea that the elves need to appear strong, or that they'll get taken advantage of if they... Are you licking your penis again? He's very fixated on the idea that the elves need to appear strong, or that they will end up being taken over by any of the other people that live in the world of Terrion. So whether that be the Guardians, whether that be the goblins, whether that be the humans. I mean, I don't think he's all that concerned about Dragonborn, but he probably still is, to be honest. He's that kind of person, you know. If I was being nice, I'd say xenophobic. If I was being less nice, I'd probably say racist. You know, a Smeaton. Anyway, then we get on to the characters that were in the first book properly, not just sort of throwaway lines of characters like Diamos and Felicius, and how they present in this book. So, we have Gregorio. I love Gregorio. He's one of my favourite characters to write. He is obviously now one of Mary's best friends. She has like a whole group of friends now, but they are still trying to figure out how this friendship thing works. Like, a lot of the other Guardians on the expedition call him by a nickname that Mary doesn't call him. Like, she's only just started calling him Gregorio instead of Valencia. So, like, she sort of gets a little bit worried about how everybody else is calling him this nickname, and she's like, should I be calling him that? Kitty doesn't call him that. What's happening here? But he's sort of feeling very torn as well in the where to put his attention, because obviously he's a Guardian graduate. He's still in that first probationary year. It's very much like if you've done teacher training in the UK, you get your teacher training qualification from a university, and then you have to do like a year of like mentored teaching before you're actually a proper teacher that can go out and be a teacher. And he's in that that phase of life. Why is that a thing? Is it because your mum's a teacher? He's in that phase of the whole thing. So he's officially graduated. He's got the qualification for being a Guardian, but he has to go through this mentorship period of a year before he can, you know, work on his own, or start mentoring other people or whatever. Before he becomes a Guardian Private, he has to have a year of being a Guardian Graduate. So he's torn between like that and that as his focus. Trying to help his aunt, who's obviously suffering under the effects of this curse, and trying to help his friend Mary, and then balance all of his other friendships with these new Guardians. He's missing his paramour, who's left behind on the island of Shima, which is the roommate Kitty, and he's just torn in a lot of directions. He's dealing with the aftermath of the events of the first book as well. Like, he's gone to the Elven Isles not just as a Guardian, but also as someone who suffered under Larynx, who has to present his case. Then we have Commander Jonathan Wickley. Commander Jonathan Wickley is as he ever is. He is apparently more likeable in this book, but basically the same person. He is overburdened, he's worried about his paramour because she is suffering under the effects of this curse. He is having to travel to outside of his comfort zone, outside of his control zone, and he's not coping brilliantly with that because it's a really stressful situation. He is doing his best to offer Mary what she needs, but his primary focus is and always has to be the Guardian institution. We have everybody's favourite colonel, Calic. Bear with me with Calic's song because you'll understand when you hear the lyrics, but the title is so the title is Chain of Abuse. The band is 3 Days Grace. I told you you'd be getting an insight. You think that everyone hates you, but I don't. When everyone tries to use you, I won't. I know it's hard to go on sometimes when nothing ever seems to change. I know it's hard to go on sometimes, but tomorrow is a different day. It was just Calic. So Calic in this book is very much as he was in the last book, but now he's in a relationship with Mary. Things get a little bit saucier in this book. Not actually saucy, but a little saucier. So like there's kisses on the page now instead of off the page. He is more obviously bisexual in this book because we get to hear about one of his exes, which is fun, which is the ex from his short story A Midsummer Graduation, which you probably may have missed actually. That was a one-off. Next up we have most people's least favourite character, Nathaniel Larynx. So again, if you've read the 3-chapter excerpt, you can get on my mailing list. I highly advise you sign up to that because you get a lot of cool free stuff like A Midsummer Graduation and the first 3 chapters and the first chapter before anyone else got it and stuff. But you'll know that a big part of why they're men in this expedition to the Elven Isles is to deliver Larynx into the custody of the Elven justice system. So Larynx is very much in the quintessential parallel of Raquel, dealing with the aftermath of having broken his oath to Smeaton and everything that comes with it, including the legal stuff, but also including the emotional stuff. And both he and Mary are on this same grief path, as it were, of neither of them likes him, but they're both kind of grieving the loss of Smeaton. And it's this very confusing situation to be in, and he is stuck with the knowledge that he may never get to the end of this grief cycle before the Elven justice system takes its punishment out on him, which is very, very likely to be execution. And he is kind of dealing with that and trying to figure out in the brief time he has left who he is as a person, who he might want to be as a person, and who he could have been if he hadn't had to swear his fealty to Smeaton that one tragic day. That you may or may not be getting a short story about over on nopoodles.wordpress.com in the coming weeks. You are. It's not may or may not, you actually are. Larynx's song is called All the Same, Once a Liar, Always a Liar by a band called Story Untold. And the lyrics that really stand out to me for him, because again it's lyrics. I don't know why everyone in this has lyrics, but they do. I don't want to hear a made up excuse. I'm done feeling used. It's over. I don't want to hear I'm something I'm not. You're done. You got caught. It's over. Once a liar, gonna be a liar always. Some other liar's gonna get you someday. What you're giving, you'll get it back all the same. There's also a lyric in there called that's you're a water gun in Russian roulette, which I just love as a lyric. It's not very Larynxy, I just wanted to share it. It's one of my favourite lyrics ever. You're a water gun in Russian roulette. How cutting is that? Anyway, and then finally we get on to our eponymous main character, Mary, the person through which everything in these books is filtered. fucking love Mary. Mary she is surprisingly hard to summarise, and I think the reason for that is because everything is through her lens. So obviously, like, she is quintessentially the person that you see everything through, and the person that I'm filtering everything through in the first place. So it's very difficult to summarise who she is and what she's like. She's our main character. She is an anxious ball of a mess. She is not coping with any of this because it's a very traumatic thing to have to go back to a house in which you were treated the way Mary was. Content warning at the beginning for a reason. So it's a very traumatic thing having to go back there, and then obviously she's balancing the idea of being in a relationship at all, and having to keep it a secret. She's dealing with people agreeing and disagreeing about her guardian status. She's dealing with the fact that the Elven Queen has specifically requested she become the next Lord Smeaton, and she is officially the heir to Lord Smeaton because he did claim her in that Elven Embassy in book 1, and she's like, I don't want to do that though. And like, that's obviously a really tough situation to be in, and like, there's all of these pieces that she's trying to like juggle or maneuver around on a chessboard, and she's just not very good at juggling chess. Like, as a person, like, it very much feels like in a lot of ways Mary only came into her personhood when she went to the island of Shima, and it took her a little while to figure it out. And I'm not gonna lie, a lot of that is based on my experience as a trans person, and like coming out as a trans person. I was 19 when I came out as trans, and it took a while to sort of settle into who I was because I didn't know before then, and like figuring out how to be the person I was kind of before into this genderqueer version of myself that I am now. It was a lot. It was really hard, and like going back to like my mum's house and the house I grew up in was super tough because I was just kind of there like, oh, welcome to the room in which I used to be a different gender, or at least I thought I was. It feels weird now. This is the wall where I used to have my posters. Oh yeah, says my wife, because I took her, obviously. What posters? Magazine cutouts from Twilight. I was a teenager then. Anyway. Anyway. And also other magazine cutouts, like fairy tale ones and like book news stuff. It wasn't just Twilight. It wasn't like a whole Twilight shrine wall or something. There was other stuff then. Anyway. So I think Mary's songs kind of speak better for her than I can because I struggle to condense Mary down. But the whole playlist was made with kind of her and this specific story in mind, because when I was writing Mary Arlan Breaking the Curse for the first time, I didn't have Spotify at all. So like, but now I do, so I make the playlists. So there are 2 songs I'm going to share for Mary. The first one is another one by Story Untold, which is Drown in My Mind, which is a quintessential Mary as a character song. Like Mary as a whole character, not Mary in a specific. Don't know how I feel, don't know if I'm scared, all I know is I've got so many regrets. It's been this way for the last 2 years, I can't seem to stop. No, I can't do this on my own, please tell me you won't go and leave me alone and cold, don't let me drown in my mind. The second song is very much Mary in the world, in the story of Mary Arlan in the story of Mary Arlan finding the Heir. We Don't Have to Dance by Andy Black. You're never gonna get it, I'm a hazard to myself, I'll break it to you easy, this is hell, you're looking and whispering, you think I'm someone else, this is hell, yes, literal hell. We don't have to talk, we don't have to dance, we don't have to smile, we don't have to make friends, it's so nice to meet you, let's never meet again. We don't have to talk, we don't have to dance. And that is, yeah, quintessentially what she is dealing with in this book, in Mary Arlan Finding the Heir. Particularly if you want a moment to listen to that song specifically, it is chapter 23 is that song. Like, if you want a moment in the book to listen to that, chapter 23. But I know it's not everybody's taste. of music. Like, I get that. I've had this. I've watched other authors give their playlists for stuff and been like, oh really, that's what you listen to? So like, if you're looking at me going, oh really, 3 Days Grace, that's fair. Oh really? Yeah. 3 Days Grace. 3 Days Grace and Avril Lavigne in the same playlist. Yeah. Just wait. Like, if I share any of my other playlists from my other stuff, my Faye Courts novel also has The Amazing Devil in it. So, actually, my Mary playlist used to, but that was more. It was very much. I started trying to write with all of the playlist I built up for Mary while I was editing Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse, and ended up having to take a bunch of songs off it for Mary Ellen Finding the Heir. So like, The Horror and the Wild was one that was very much Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse, but not so much Mary Ellen Finding the Heir. But anyway, that's a whole separate discussion that I would be willing to talk about if anybody has any interest in it, but I don't want to be too self-indulgent with these videos. I'm happy to be self-indulgent, because if you're not indulging yourself, who are you indulging? But I don't want to be too self-indulgent. I think there's a balance to be found. Hi. What? What do you want? You want tea time, don't you? You want tea time, don't you? Do you want tea time? Is it tea time? Is it tea time? Yeah. Yeah, is it tea time? Tea time for chops. I swear I've not intentionally trained this dog into wanting to make tea at certain times of day, but he does. Come here and show yourself off to the people. Hi. Bloop. So, if you haven't pre-ordered your copy of Mary Ellen Finding the Heir yet, you absolutely can. You can pre-order an ebook, possibly a paperback from various places, definitely a signed paperback from me. And you can get your pre-order goodies. It's not just the report, there's other stuff too. It's very exciting for me. I hope it's very exciting for you. When I got all of the stuff into my house and I started packaging it together, my wife was like, where's mine? So hopefully you'll like it as much as she does. And yeah, I apparently have to go and make tea with the dog now. So all of the links that you need to find me, including my coffee account and links to my books all over the internet, are in the description box below. I will see you in 2 weeks' time with probably another video about Mary Ellen Finding the Heir. Because, yeah, it will be the video before release day, which is a very exciting concept. I can't believe how soon this comes out. The relative soon. I can't believe how soon this comes out. It's so beautiful. But I'm going to make tea for my dog now. He doesn't get the tea. I get the tea. He gets to sit in the kitchen and look out the window, and that's sort of what he's in it for.